Today I'm going to be attempting something that, to the best of my knowledge and after a little bit of research, I don't think has ever been done before. Hello, my name's George, welcome to the channel, and today I'm going to be attempting a bird watching marathon. I'm going to be running 26.2 miles, carrying my camera and seeing how many birds I can see and photograph along the way. I'm going to be carrying my Canon 90D camera. This is the Sigma 150 to 600mm lens attached to it, which altogether is about 2.5 kilograms. I'm going to be taking my GoPro to film the video on as well. I've got a bunch of snacks and water with me to hopefully see me through, and I've got this rough idea of a route. I've parked the car up in Glastonbury. First stop is Glastonbury Tor. Going to run up there, hopefully get some lovely views out across the Somerset Levels and the Avalon Marshes, which is where I'm going to be exploring today to try and see some birds, and then round those nature reserves, head back to Glastonbury and finish off with a lovely cool refreshing pint of Somerset cider. I've never run while carrying this camera before, so I've got no idea how difficult or annoying it's going to be or how slow I'm going to have to run, but you know, today isn't about speed. It's just about getting those miles done and seeing as many sweet birdies as possible. Okay then, here we go. The world's first bird watching marathon. Let's do it.
Think of all the fun that you could be missing out on, but if you run the marathon, you're gonna break. So if your worst nightmare comes true, well, there are worse things you could do than to try to think it through some other way. Cause if you waltz into the place with teeth out all across your face, you waste a week or 2 or 3 in disarray. So with splinters in your shins and with grand piano grins, shine a light upon your sins, the light of day.
First mile down, and I've seen jackdaw, wood pigeon, magpie, crow, and highlight already, goldcrest.
The goldcrest is the UK's smallest bird, weighing just around 5 or 6 grams. These dumpy little olive green ping pong balls dart around the trees very quickly, so I'm always happy when I manage to capture one in a photograph. Thrilled with my goldcrest spot, I carried on my run and headed up towards Glastonbury Tor, where I saw another new bird for the trip, this soaring buzzard, and a couple more not birds as well, like this cow and these distant horses. Glastonbury Tor is a spiritual beacon, drenched in centuries of legend and folklore for both Christians and pagans alike. It's said there's a hidden cave underneath this hill that can take you to the fairy realm of Anwin, where you can find the lord of the Celtic underworld and the cauldron of rebirth. The tower, which is all that remains of a 14th century church, stands at 158 metres above the surrounding levels, so you get this glorious view in all directions. Glastonbury is thought to be the Isle of Avalon, where King Arthur went after his last battle, and it's even said that Jesus visited Glastonbury as a young lad, which inspired William Blake to write the famous poem Jerusalem. Here I am just spending a quiet moment soaking up all those spiritual powers to help guide me on my bird-watching quest.
Hey!
As I got back into town, it was time to have a quick little coffee, so I stopped at this little cafe here for a drink and some cake, and was even joined by a nice little feral pigeon that was picking at my brownie crumbs.
Stopping to have a coffee and cake only 3 miles in might have been a bit of a luxury, but that's only because Glastonbury is pretty much the only town that I'm going to run through, and it is the start and finish of the loop. I thought it'd best refuel and use the toilet while I can. There hopefully will be coffee shops open in the nature reserves, but they might be a good 10 miles of running away. And now I'm leaving the town, leaving Glastonbury and getting out into the levels. The kestrel just sat on the telephone wires just here. The Avalon Marshes is a subtle but very diverse landscape with a character and special richness of its own. Britain has no other landscape like it. There are lows, levels, heaths, mires and moors, reed beds, lakes, fen woodland, lines of willows, green pastures and rich black peat. On the horizon are the Mendip Hills, the northern border of the Somerset Levels. How interesting! I'm recording this now sort of just to look back on and potentially laugh in the future, but 5.5 miles in and I'm having a great time. Spirits are high, it's windy but nice, it's warm, not too hot, there's lovely birds around. First great tit just flew past then. A whole flock of tits. Okay, I'm gonna have to stop recording and get some photos. BRB. Right, a very exciting little patch there. Flock of various tits, blue tit, great tit, long-tailed tit, chiff chaff, and then a little egret flew over, and a marsh harrier. Very exciting little section of birds there. Hopefully got some photos to show you. But I think what I'm now beginning to realise is that if I want to do 26 miles and do the full marathon, which I am going to do, I might have to limit how much time I actually spend stopping and bird watching, or else I'm going to be running till sunset at this point. Something to bear in mind, but it's hard, you know, when there's birds around you. I want to stop and look. No energy gels or peanuts. Disappointing selection there, come on. Swallows! The nature reserves I'm hoping to explore today are all located within the Avalon Marshes, a wetland in the heart of the Somerset Levels that's renowned across the country for its variety of bird life. So I'm hoping when I get there today, I'll be greeted by loads of different species of duck and egret and heron and goose and swan, and I'll be able to get a load of nice photos. And when planning this route, I was particularly interested in the fact that it was called a lowlands and Somerset Levels. I'm hoping it'll be nice and flat, and that I've done all my climbing today going up and down the Tor. So I think I'm a couple miles away from my first nature reserve and I'm excited to see what I'll find. Cutest bird of the trip alert. Hello. So I'm now at my first nature reserve on the marathon, RSPB Ham Wall, which is a fab site, home to water voles, bitterns, kingfishers, otters, great white egrets, and in the winter it's one of the largest starling roosts in the entire country. So I'm hoping to spot a few nice species as I run around the reserve this afternoon. I'm about 7.5 miles in, which is, I don't know, just over a quarter of the way through, which is a little bit worrying. So I'm going to try and get some miles in around the reserve before I stop at some of the hides and have a break and some refreshment. But it is taking a little bit longer than I imagined. I am a lot slower thanks to the heavy camera and all the lovely birds I'm enjoying. So yeah, gonna get my head down and get a few miles done before lunch. far too quick, but I just saw the unmistakable orange and blue blur of a kingfisher just fly across the lake here. Class. Just had a pretty cool encounter. Two mink, I'm pretty sure they were mink, two dark black weasel-like creatures running down the path right towards me.
Although they were exciting to see, mink are actually an invasive non-native species that were released or escaped from fur farms in the 50s and 60s and now provide a threat to our native wildlife like waterfowl and ground nesting birds. I finished my time in Ham Wall by seeing another kestrel, getting my first lesser black-backed gull of the trip, this lovely flying flock of distant grey-lag geese, and this very blurry photo of some sand martins. It was then time for another quick coffee break before exploring Nature Reserve number 2, Shapwick Heath National Nature Reserve, managed and cared for by Natural England.
How lovely is that? The birds of the Avalon Marshes. Beautiful. I've never been to this high before. I'm just going to spend a few minutes. Wow. Look at that. That is lovely.
I hadn't really explored Shapwick Heath before, and I enjoyed meandering around the various trails and discovering new bird hides, lots of which opened up to reveal stunning views across lakes and reed beds. This one had a nice view out across Glastonbury Tor, and it was nice to look back and see how far I'd come. I got to add some new species to my bird list, like these gorgeous dabbling gadwall, as well as some birds I'd already enjoyed on the run, like this great white egret stood among the reeds. And then I was treated to a flyover by a grey heron, probably one of the largest birds that you might be able to enjoy from your back garden, with a 6-foot wingspan that you can see spread out here. I just love these birds. They look so special and prehistoric, especially when they're in flight like this. And of course the bird hides are a good place to rest your legs and get some much needed refreshment.
If you hear humming, please be aware that there are wild honeybees nesting in the wall cavity of this hide. Lovely. Well, not too much to see from this one. A couple of wood pigeons flying over. Time to move on. 13.1 miles, halfway. Half marathon done, and I'm feeling all right. You know, the rain's held off, it's brightened up a little bit, the camera is heavy, my legs are getting sore, but I'm feeling okay. However, if you've run a marathon before, you might have heard people say that 13.1 isn't the halfway mark. They say mile 20 is the halfway mark, because that last 10k is terrible and as bad as the 20 miles before it. So things still have the opportunity to get a whole lot worse, but I've not fallen over yet. No rolled ankles, touch wood. Look at all them chickens. So just stopped for a break at the Avalon Marshes visitor centre, had a snack, had another can of Coke, and now back on the plod. I am worried now though that after a break these next few miles are going to be very difficult, and probably the furthest away from the car on the loop. The next nature reserve I'm going to try and get to is Westhay Moor, managed by Somerset Wildlife Trust, so I'll see you there. Some lovely swallows sat on the telephone wire there, and it is now beginning to rain. This is not good. I mean, this is too perfect. A sweet little village pub called The Bird, just as it starts raining. I would love to go in there. This might be a low point of the trip so far. Raining, walking alongside a dodgy road without a footpath. Yeah, not ideal. I'm now approaching the final nature reserve on my birdwatching marathon, which is Westhay Moor National Nature Reserve. It's one I've never been to before, so I'm excited to have a look around. And I believe it was formerly a peat extraction site that has since been transformed into a nature reserve. And their website describes it as one of the jewels in the crown of Somerset Wildlife Trust's nature reserves. So I've got high hopes. I also saw that it is home to birds like hobby, which I have been hoping to try and see today, as they're common on the Avalon Marshes, catching things like dragonflies. No sign of them yet. But they also say that the odd hen harrier is spotted here, which would be extremely exciting, as I've never seen one of those. So, last nature reserve of the trip. Let's go take a look. It's nice to have a sit down, but it is extremely quiet at the lake hide. I can see one coot and 3 mallards. Oh, and a marsh harrier. Fab.
Marsh harriers used to be extremely rare birds. In fact, at the turn of the 20th century, they were extinct in the UK. And then once again in 1971, their population was reduced to just one breeding female. Today in the Somerset Levels, you can see a number of these birds gliding slowly over the reed beds as they look for small mammals and frogs and birds like coots and moorhen to feed on.
Well, that made it a bit more exciting. Hopefully got a couple of pictures. That might be about the 4th or 5th marsh harrier I've seen today. Always exciting to see them, but for whatever reason, quite difficult to photograph. They normally keep their distance. I'm still sort of chasing a really good photograph of a marsh harrier. Maybe one of those was it, eh? We'll see. When I'm feeling really low and struggling, I have to give my mate Fredo a call. A mallard. That's a blackback girl. On to the next one. The elusive hobby could not be found, alas. Just gonna look in the last hide at Westhay Moor, the tower hide, and that's this one just here. Enjoy that little bit of sun. Another final 8 miles back to the car. Overall, it's been quite quiet at Westhay Moor so far, so I think it's almost time that I start heading back to the car. I might not record as much in this last stretch because I'm sure I'm going to be feeling miserable. We'll see. Not sure if I got the camera rolling in time, but just heard the squeaky pig-like sound of the water rail. A bird that's really Difficult to actually see because it lives deep in the reed beds, but it does have this squealy pig-like sound. That's a nice one to add to the list. "19 miles in, and I've just seen my first robin of the day." "20.5 miles down, and as predicted earlier, I am in Struggletown. This last 6 miles is going to be so rubbish. I'm not even looking out for birds anymore. I'm just so tired. I haven't got much more to say than that, really. "22 miles in, and I just saw a hobby. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! Get in." Oh. 22 miles it took me, but I saw one. My legs feel like jelly, but I am over the moon. A hobby, get in! Woohoo! And the sun's come out. Oh yes. This is what it's all about, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, 4 miles to go. Feeling on top of the world, baby.
All the straight edges, all the hard lines, all the breakages, but the harder that you look, it seems the harder to find. It must be hidden somewhere deep inside a corner of your mind. So you should try to slow it down, 'cause this could take a little time. And the faster that you go, it seems the more you fall behind.
Never. I can see the car. Thank God. That was so tough. So there we go, 26.2 miles run, 2 very sore legs, 2 extremely chafed nipples, and hopefully a bunch of nice bird photos that I've been able to share with you throughout this video. This has been by far the most physically demanding YouTube video I've made. It's the most extreme day of bird watching I've ever done in my life. So if you've enjoyed watching this video, if you could leave it a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, share it with your mates, I don't know, it would just mean a lot to me. That would be great. I really appreciate you watching, especially all the way to the end. All right, so I'm gonna go find myself a cold pint of cider, probably an extremely large portion of chips, go home, run myself a bath, and get into bed. Okay, thanks so much for watching, everyone. I'll see you another time. Ta-da then, bye.
Should it be a hum or should it be a no?
I'm not sure about that high one. It's quite,
Hum's good.
I don't know if it'd be better if we all just did the same.